And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your host, Fearon.
Sit down, shut up, and listen up.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon here with you. So much to talk about, so little time. This show's moving, as John said on the Facebook fan page, moving faster than a Washington Nationals playoff run. Certainly agree with that one. Coming up right now, I've got from this past Thursday, 2 days ago, in fact, I spoke with WWE Raw General Manager AJ Lee. Wild Bill, go ahead and bring it up. Here is AJ from the WWE. Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB, and I'm proud to have with me, I'm thrilled to have the General Manager from WWE Raw, of course, AJ Lee. AJ, welcome to the program.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. Where to start? I guess we'll have to start with this past Monday, of course. A very eventful Raw, to say the least. And I don't know, the first thing that jumps out at my mind with this past Monday's State of the WWE address, owner Vince McMahon. What was going through your mind as you heard the infamous "No Chance in Hell" theme and see Mr. McMahon power strutting down the aisle? The headlines leading up to it, I'm sure you had to have read a couple of them, putting your status as the general manager in question. What was going through your mind?
I think that was the funny thing was that everyone kind of was expecting me to get fired, and or just something to happen. But so I guess I was on edge for a little while, but it was a long 3 hours for me. But I'm safe and I'm still here, and So that turned out okay. But anytime that Mr. Mann's on television, it's going to be good TV. And so I watched all the show as a fan and just kind of was in awe of how our crowd was so interactive and so excited for him. That was some of the loudest. That was the loudest I've heard the crowd in a long time. So he's impressive. He has that star power.
He definitely does, and so certainly do you as well. Now, this is something I've been curious about. You've been general manager now for a couple of months. You were appointed, I believe it was on the Raw 1000 back in July. Do you have any interest in getting back in the ring, or do you prefer your role outside of the ring as a general manager? Do you kind of like to switch? Do you prefer like maybe a hybrid of the two? Which is your preference now that you've done a little bit of both?
Oh, if there was any possible way to do a hybrid of the two, I'd have so much fun with that. But this right now is pretty much my first year in, and a little over a year, and being on television, that is. But and so I feel like there's a lot of time for the wrestling, and getting into this business, I think I was, didn't know I could do anything but that, and I was 100% like, oh, I'm going to wrestle, and that's all I need to do, and I don't need to talk, and I don't need to, put this character development, I didn't care about that. I was all 100% like, I'm just going to get in the ring, and that's what my mark will be, and I was kind of naive about it, and I didn't realize that there's so much more fun to be had, and there's so many other opportunities, and you can grow so much as a person and as a performer in other aspects of this business, and so hopefully I have a long career, and it's only been over a year, and hopefully I'm here for a lot of years, and I can wrestle then. But I'm really loving what I'm doing right now, and I'm so appreciative that they gave me such a giant opportunity that I wouldn't want to waste it, and I wouldn't want to, miss something else and be worried about that and not focusing on what I'm doing now.
Now, has that made you think at all about something perhaps after your in-ring career, which I know is a hard question to ask, especially, you only being in your mid-20s, but have you thought about any, has this opened any thoughts or possibilities to something, in backstage, in the office, in creative? Has anything gone through your head about that?
I don't particularly think about it yet, just because I'm such a baby to this business, and still my first year. But if I did have to, this is a family, and this is the best thing I've ever done, and I love everyone that works here. And so if I could stay here even after I wasn't in the ring anymore, I would love that. I would love to be somehow working in this company.
Oh, that's terrific. Now, let's look a little bit, I guess, at the history of AJ. I mean, were you a fan of wrestling before you started career? I mean, did you have any particular favorite wrestlers growing up?
Yeah, I was a huge fan. I think when I was really little, it was around me, the Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Macho Man, era, and I was really into that. And my first idol ever was Mrs. Elizabeth. And when I started on the Independence, I actually named myself, Miss April after her. And so that's, my first taste of it. And then when I got really heavily involved, I would just sit down with my brother and watch it. And that's when, the kind of Divas boom happened. And we had Stephanie and Trish and Lita and Molly and Ivory and and Jacqueline and these, really athletic girls. And that's kind of what inspired me to get into it. And so I was around 12 years old, and then I knew I wanted to do this. So those girls were really huge influences on me.
I certainly get that. I first caught on to WWE when I was 11. So, back then it was the World Wrestling Federation, of course. Right at the tail end of Hulkamania. I think WrestleMania 9 actually was the first pay-per-view I ever saw, and I was just hooked at that point on.
Oh, wow. It is. It's one of those things that, you can love your whole life and kind of, you can be a kid and grow into an adult and still, know the same characters and the same people and it kind of can stick with you. And it's hilarious because it's people that I watched when I was 12 that I'm working with now, and it's bizarre and amazing. And so it's definitely a dream come true.
I can only imagine. I want to switch gears for a sec. I mean, I know that you're a huge comic book and video game fan. I mean, you initially had the Geek Goddess nickname. Who's your favorite comic book superhero? Just curious.
I've always said I have a lot of love for Jean Grey, and in particular, the whole Dark Phoenix saga. I think is one of those things that, when I was really young, my brother would kind of had all the comic books, and I would just get them secondhand from him, and it was the one that kind of stood out to me, and I liked that duality of somebody and her being Phoenix and Dark Phoenix, and it was such there's so much drama for such a young kid to try to absorb, and I was so into it. So yeah, I was a huge fan of her.
Yeah, how much of that interest in comic books has that, transitioned into the drama of professional wrestling, of sports entertainment?
Well, I mean, it all kind of goes hand in hand, and having those, wanting to be a superhero and having those, creative juices flowing and liking that, that world of the fighting and getting physical to defend, your honor and to do what's right and being a kid that was kind of absorbed in that. I think every kid wants to be a superhero when they're really young, but not everyone actually is okay, I'm going to actually, wear spandex and do this, So I think all of us are just, big kids on the inside, everyone on the roster.
True. I guess the only superhero that jumps out at me at the moment is back when Shane Helms was doing the whole hurricane thing a few years.
I was so jealous of Mighty Molly. I wanted to be a Mighty Molly with him.
Oh, wow. I can only imagine. Now, like I said, you're also a video game fan. On the rare occasions you get downtime, which I know are super rare with the travel schedule and everything like that, what kind of video games, what kind of system does AJ Lee have? What kind of games is AJ playing?
Well, right now I have a 3DS that I travel with all the time, and then I have a Resident Evil on there and Metal Gear Solid, a Snake Eater on there. And I also have the Pokemon Black and White. I know Black and White Part 2 just came out, so I'm going to look forward to that. So that, anything that's is portable is really helpful, because we spend so much time on planes and just, kind of sitting around and waiting. And so that's, really helpful. And I don't get a lot of time to, play with my Xbox at home. But, I'm an Xbox girl and a PlayStation girl and everything. I love it all.
Okay, that makes sense. Kind of hard to, bring the Xbox and, find a plug in the arena and,
I've heard people have done that in the past, but I have way too many suits in my bag to fit it.
I'm like trying to picture, like, is she traveling with like a Cody Rhodes or somebody, just sitting down. I'm thinking of some of the other video game fanatics in the wrestling world. Cody's the first one that jumps out to mind. I mean, heck, he had the Legend of Zelda Triforce on his boots for a while, for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Cody and Kofi. Kofi is a huge gamer as well.
Kofi Kingston.
So yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, he's a huge gamer. There's a lot of smack talk between the three of us.
Now, that makes sense. When they first brought out Kofi Kingston, I always looked at him, I thought, wow, he looks so much like DJ from Super Street Fighter 2. That was the first thing that jumped...
Oh, man, that's hilarious.
I don't know if you ever heard that before, but that was like the first thing that jumped out of my head when they had the whole Jamaican thing going. I'm thinking, wow,
yeah.
That's taking me back to like 95.
Oh, man. Well, he's a huge gamer, and he actually won the THQ tournament like 3 years in a row or something like that. And so he's coming after my crown this year.
Oh, that's
we're both in it. I don't know.
That's right. Well, THQ, of course, making the WWE video games they had for quite a while, and I mean, certainly some classics. I mean, did you have any involvement in the creative aspect of WWE 13 or any of the other games in the past?
I haven't, but the funny part is I had absolutely no idea what was going on with the game this year, and the day it was revealed that I was DLC, and was the first day I heard about it. Nobody told me. So it was just a pleasant, amazing surprise, and I had nothing to do with it, and yet somehow they thought it is like you put me in the game. Like it's so realistic, and it looks like me, and it moves like me, and I had nothing to do with it. So they are really good. They did it all on their own, and it's such an impressive game this year. And I played pretty much all of them, and the past 2 years have been just so cool with this new system and the new fighting style, and like the pins are different, the submissions are different, and it's just way more realistic. It's amazing.
Would it be wrong to peg you for favorite wrestling video game of all time, or is it kind of one of those hard to choose a favorite because there are so many?
It's hard to pick. I think I do have an appreciation for the first SmackDown versus Raw, because I think that's when it started to get more realistic, and like the roster was a little bit bigger. So I don't know if that's my favorite of all time, but it's definitely one I remember, that I got a lot out of, because that's when I was like, oh, I can make myself in the game, and it'll look a little bit more like me, and and it was just me trying to be close to anything involved in wrestling, but. So I have a little appreciation for that one. But these games, this is probably going to be the best wrestling game of all time.
That's great. I gave you a cop-out, and you totally didn't take it. I appreciate that. All right, now let's talk a little bit about, obviously, 1 week, or coming up in just under a week at this point, Friday, the 19th of October. The Raw World Tour coming to your home state, of course, Trenton, New Jersey. How does it feel to come back home in a sense? I mean, I know Union's maybe, about 45 minutes, an hour north of Trenton where the show's going to be, but, what's that like?
Well, I'm from Union City, and I lived in Union City, and I kind of live all over. So it's just New Jersey in general feels like home, because I've kind of never really stood in one spot. But it's always really nice. We've been back there a couple times, and it's nice to kind of drive through and see, I remember, you have memories of certain times in your life when you were there, and good or bad or whatever it is, and to come back and be in such a better place, and to kind of have, to be, remember being there and never wanting to be in the WWE, and how hard it was to get there, and driving around and going to all these places for, little indie shows, and now I'm back and I'm the general manager of Raw. It's amazing, and it's a wonderful full circle moment, and it's every time it's really nice to come home, and so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the crowds, and hopefully I get to do something. I know I'm the general manager now, but hopefully I make my presence known.
Well, on the advertising flyer, they've got you listed here. So I would imagine they have something planned for you.
I'll definitely be there. I travel with Raw, just in case. You never know when you're going to need a general manager.
Well, true. I mean, it looks like one switch already had to be made. The initial advertisement having John Cena against CM Punk, but with Cena's elbow surgery and recovery, he's at this point questionable for Hell in a Cell coming up in a few weeks. So an interesting substitution. Ryback taking on CM Punk in a last man standing match for the WWE Championship should be a good one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he kind of came out of nowhere, and I kind of love stories like that with, people you wouldn't expect or kind of just don't see coming. And I think he's a force to be reckoned with, and I think a lot of people want to see him get his hands on Punk, and so I'm kind of interested in that.
Well, transitioning from one love story to another, CM Punk, we know about your involvement on camera with that, and another person who you were with for quite a bit, one half, or I guess if you ask him, the sole tag team champion, Daniel Bryan, along with Kane defending the tag titles against Primo and Epico. I love what's going on with the tag team division right now. It's almost kind of experiencing a renaissance after, in a lot of people's opinions, being down for a while. Yeah, and it's been completely revitalized, and I... and we have the tournament for the number one contenders that's been going on for a couple of weeks, and stuff like that. I don't think, people, we haven't seen that in a while, and you have all these tag teams that are, solid teams and you can get invested in, and and I'm such a fan of Team Hell No, and despite our sordid past, I think they're so entertaining, and I want to, just watch them like a fan. But, so I want them to keep the titles for a long time, but they have a lot of competition now. Oh, they certainly do. And I don't know if I'm the only one who kind of takes umbrage. I mean, obviously the WWE Universe let their voice be known, but I mean, I still have a soft spot for the name Team Friendship. I mean, I know that they let the vote out there, and somehow Team Hell No kind of came out of there, and it just kind of left me scratching my head. I was like, but everything was set up for Team Friendship. But, the WWE Universe speaks, and give credit to WWE for listening. Yeah,
that's the thing. Our votes they're real, and so I wanted Team Friendship. I think I still refer to them as Team Friendship. It's hilarious, and but that's what the fans wanted, and it was kind of shocking because I thought it was in the bag, but no, yeah. So we listened to the fans. Apparently, they went with Team Hell No, but it's growing on me. But I really wanted to see Kane in the Team Friendship T-shirt.
Yeah, but I guess the fans kind of hearkening back to the Attitude Era and think, all right, if we can get Hell on a T-shirt somehow, it's at least a little bit more a little bit edgier than I don't know, Team Friendship, I guess, or maybe it's just a mark of society in general. I don't know. That's way deeper level than we really need to get into with this. Oh goodness! All right, so the Sunbank Center, of course, the Raw World Tour. It's going to be this Friday, the 19th of October. 7:30 will be the start time for it. If you can get tickets at ComcastTix.com, you can also get them at the Sunbank Center box office or charge by phone at 800-298-4200. Great stuff from the WWE. Looking forward to seeing you there. 4 titles defended live in Trenton. It should be a great show.
Yeah, it always is, and I'm really proud of Raw, and I hope everyone comes out.
Should be some great stuff. Thank you so much, AJ, for spending a little bit of time with us here on Pro Wrestling Weekly. Love everything that's going on, and looking forward to, as we saw this past week, an uptrend in the ratings pretty much across the board.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, we're all looking forward to it.
All right, AJ, thank you so much for joining the program.
Okay, thank you.
There it is, AJ Lee, joining me 2 days ago, and certainly a lot of interesting takes on things. We went everywhere from comics and video games to this past Monday on Raw to how she started, and of course coming home to the state of New Jersey for the show. A great conversation. Kind of intrigued by her favorite comic book character, Jean Grey, of course, from the X-Men series. I don't know. So comics not exactly my forte, but I'm sure I know I have a couple of comic book friends who will chime in with their opinions one way or another on that, to say the least. And speaking of chiming in on opinions, your chance to do so coming up on the other side. Thank you so much for being patient, but we'll get to your calls on the other side. And of course, I've got tickets to give away, so call up. In case you don't have the numbers, let me give them to you now. 215-949-3232 or toll free at 888-922-2149. bring something to the table. I love good conversation, and if I like the conversation good enough, I've got sets of tickets here for you to the Raw World Tour show coming up this Friday, the 19th. Certainly a good one. We talked about it during the interview, and I've mentioned it a few times over the course of the hour, and I guess leading up to it. You definitely know what's going on. In case you don't, now you do, that's for sure. Also, we'll get to a little Facebook feedback on the other side. I got a little bit more news and notes, but third segment, want to try to make it all you. So now's the time to chime in during the break. We'll go ahead and get you up on the other side. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.